Coming up on this edition of Cogeco News, a little bit of a relief spot to try to beat the heat. Pet of the Week returns. And some interesting and good news for a new battalion player. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Cogeco News. I am Greg Asterbrooks. Well, after hearing demands from many citizens for a few weeks now, the City of North Bay has come up with a cooling solution. The City of North Bay will use the North Bay Transit Terminal on Oak Street as an alternate cooling center. On the surface, though, a smallish option, but according to one city councillor, the pandemic is also causing problems in location selection.
The rationale behind the transit terminal location is that it's central and that it is already open. Easier, staff is already there, so it will be open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. for people to cool off.
And just air conditioning, or are there anything other things?
No, there's just air conditioning on the premises, and we're asking everyone to respect the COVID rules of distancing and also encouraging people to have a face covering.
But one important issue is the size of the cooling center, not exactly the biggest spot in North Bay they could have chosen.
This has limited space, but staff will address it as the location becomes in high demand and then there's less spacing for everyone. Safety is our concern, and then staff will select another building.
City Hall did take some heat, pardon the pun, because they hadn't developed a spot to this point. Why do you think it took so long?
Because from why it took so long is in the past, there is the two malls, and there was the YMCA, the library, and City Hall, and all the arenas, and no one really noticed a difference that there were extra people visiting those locations because of the heat. So that's why they felt that this would be the same this year. With
Ontario COVID numbers trending downward on most days lately, could at least some parts of Ontario move to the so-called Phase 3 of reopening, as the Ontario Tories have dubbed it? Nipissing's MPP is optimistic the news his government will be dispensing will be of the good variety.
They stand by. We were, when we went to stage 2, as everybody in Ontario is now, we said 2 to 4 weeks. Well, the 2 to 4 weeks is up. So you can imagine then that this will be coming in the very near future. There will be some kind of an announcement about stage 3, whether we're ready or not. You'll hear that. I would suggest you'll hear that very soon.
In public places, mask wearing is now mandatory, as dictated by the medical officer of health in that locale. Have you had any discussions here about this, or is that an issue for other people to deal with?
From a provincial level, we always have said that we're not out of the woods yet. While there's light at the end of the tunnel, we still have to be careful. So you wear a mask if you can't social distance. Make sure you wash your hands, make sure you use hand sanitizer, make sure you don't touch your face after. All of those things, those are all still important. Whether you have a mandatory mask requirement, that's going to be up to the local municipality. It's not a provincial rule. It'll be up to the local medical officer of health and the local city council.
On a completely different front, Fedele weighed in on the new trade deal that was signed between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. A lot of fears that it would be devastating to this economy. Fedele says it's not as bad as he first feared.
I think that NAFTA 2.0 is a good deal for Canada, and a good deal especially for Ontario because of the changes made to the auto parts requirement. Today, 62.5% of the parts must be made in North America. Between now and 3 years from now, it grows to 75%. So that is a huge opportunity when I have met with parts manufacturers in Japan and South Korea to say to them, you need to be making them in Ontario now, or you won't be able to ship them to North America. So this is a huge opportunity and a window that's open right this moment.
But that is just one of many aspects to any kind of massive trade deal like this. Is Fedele worried there are certain aspects of it that could be harmful to this country and Ontario?
There are areas of, with our milk quotas that are concerning to our farm community, and the federal government acknowledged that and said they would pay the farming community the difference. And so we're looking for that to happen. We're looking to put pressure on the federal government to make sure they honor that commitment to come full circle for our farm community. We're waiting for that to happen. But I think overall, it's the fact that we have a deal provides certainty. I think that's what the business community wanted. When we first heard of the deal, we saw a big freeze, a big chill on investment. But now that it's ratified and now that it's in place, certainly the certainty is strong for the business community.
Now, earlier in that piece, we talked about Sudbury demanding that folks wear masks when they are in a public place. A press release sent out by the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit just before we went on the air live at 5 indicates that the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit will be looking at maybe making masks mandatory in certain public spaces. We hope to have more on that on Friday's edition of Cogeco News. That takes us to the COVID-19 board from the North Bay Parry Sound District Health Unit. Here are the numbers for today, which is July 9th of 2020. One more case resolved, still one case to be resolved, and 2 remain in self-isolation. 243 tests were done in the last 24 hours. The North Bay Police Service has released some details of a sudden death investigation from a couple of days ago. North Bay Police advised this incident, though, is not deemed suspicious. Police say that officers responded to the scene of a sudden death when the body of an adult male was discovered in Chippewa Creek, close to the Aubrey Street and Castle Street intersection in the city on the morning of July 6th, which would have been Monday. The coroner attended the scene where police say 48-year-old Francois John Dean Isaac of Sudbury was identified as the deceased. An autopsy will be conducted on Friday to determine the cause of death. There is no tourism to speak of or really any sports to speak of when it comes to the certain time and specific time we find ourselves in mid-July of this year. But the Chamber President is putting health ahead of commerce right now.
That's another portion of the economy that is hurting and has hurt through this since March, obviously with cancellation of hockey, basketball, all of the major sporting events. But at the same time is that until there's some solution to this problem, the gathering of large crowds is going to be restricted from what we're hearing at this point. We don't know what that's going to look like in the fall. I guess if we take a look at what's happening down in the U.S. right now, I think Canada's right to be very, very cautious as they move forward on this. And if it takes us, another, I hate to say this, being a fiscal conservative, if it takes another $50 billion, $100 billion to allow this to go for another year, but make sure that our populations are safe, then I think that we really have to weigh those factors into consideration when those decisions are made. Anybody sick or dies during this, that's a pretty heavy weight for people to carry.
But at the same time, Canada's numbers in regards to positive tests are way down. And Canada's done a pretty interesting and remarkable job, a lot of people would say, about keeping those numbers down. So maybe there is an opportunity there to open up a little quicker than, say, the United States of America.
Well, when it comes right down to it, I think it's the protocols and the health professionals that have provided us the guidance through this period that have kept those numbers low, have stopped the spread. The closure of the economy basically, I think, did that. The reopening of the economy is being done on a very slow and gradual basis. And so I think I would rather be cautious anytime when it comes to people's health. That be cautious, we'll get back to this. And yes, it's going to hurt a little bit, but we're going to have to deal with that as it comes forward.
You've often been weighing in on the past about school closures and about the impact of that in the community. Well, a lot of people are wondering about reopening of schools in the fall and having kids back in the classroom. Is that a business concern? Because some have said that there's no economic growth unless schools are operational and things get back to normal in some degree.
Well, I think that, with our youth and school-age children, that is a really difficult decision to make as to what that's going to look like, how they're going to keep them safe during this period. Let's face it, when a cold goes through a classroom of kindergarten students, it goes through the entire classroom. So COVID's a little different, and it kills people, unfortunately, and that's just the fact. So I'm certain that they will look at everything and put it in perspective as to what they need to do to open safely and make sure. From a business side point of view, one of the issues is that daycare, right? It's how do they open daycare during these periods for people to get back to work as well. School is a type of daycare, so to speak, but
Breakdown has arrived here in Cogeco News. When we come back, we're going to head to the rodeo, visit with the pet of the week, and more right after this. That's pretty good, actually. Welcome back, everybody. You've heard of a good old-fashioned rodeo, but what about a bike rodeo? Heard of that? If not to worry, we have you covered. It is all about educating youngsters and their parents on the rules of the road when it comes to cyclists.
Our Youth and Policing Initiative students have come up with a bicycle rodeo. It's going to be the last week of July. They've got a number of courses set up, and again, they're looking at rules of the road and also equipment usage, and they'll run some kids through. We're looking at kids 5 to 10 years of age. We hope to at least cover off 100, keeping in mind that these are COVID conditions, so we've had to make special sanctions because of what's going on in the world today. But we'll have a hand washing station out there. The students have an email address that you can contact, set up a time frame. It's going to be both at O'Michelle and Lee Park, different days at different times, and they'll be running about 6 hours a day. We're only going to be accepting one family at a time, so 10-minute time slots basically to run them through the courses. And we hope that it's fun for the kids, it's a way to get out, and it's a way to educate them. And we really need to hit the education level, right? So it becomes a lifelong commitment to safety and good biking.
10 minutes, you can learn a lot.
Oh, absolutely. We hope they do. And in fact, if they do a successful run through our course, they're going to get a certificate signed by the Chief of Police.
And what do you think you can cover in 10 minutes? You'll be able to get a lot of information across?
I think we can, and it's not just the kids, it's the parents. So if the equipment isn't right, like just talking about the chin strap on the helmet and the chain and the air on the tires, all this kind of stuff we need just to make sure that the kids have so everyone can stay safe on the roads.
I think it'll be fun. It's a good opportunity to teach the younger kids at a young age how to stay safe on the roads because a lot of them don't have that knowledge from anywhere else. We're going to teach them the different signals for left, right, and stop. We're also going to focus on quick stops and how to properly stop. We're going to do different courses using their hand signals and different like zigzags so that they're prepared.
What are you looking forward to the most?
I think just the interaction with the community, so just like interacting with the kids, having them a chance to get out of their houses and have some fun, but with education.
Moving on in today's newscast, Stats Canada released the labor force survey for May, and in that survey, it's a look at the labor market impacted because of COVID-19. Obviously, it's been impacted significantly. Now, last month, there was one trend seeing restrictions ease, and from that trend, people started to go back to work. However, two key findings in said report showed that men saw a greater employment increase than women. Our Melissa Candelaria dove a little deeper into those statistics, getting some feedback from the Minister of International Development, Karina Gould, who says there is a definite disparity.
You can see the charts here yourself. Total employment increased more than twice as fast among men at 2.4% or 206,000 than women, which was only at 1.1% or 84,000. Not only that, the majority of job losses that happened between March and April ended up being recovered by men at about 14% compared to women at 5.4%. I know those are a lot of numbers to take in, but it seems to highlight that women are having a tougher time in this pandemic, according to the survey. Now, Burlington MP Karina Gould is aware of these numbers and says there are many factors that contribute to these findings.
First of all, unlike in the 2008-2009 financial crisis, it's not goods producing industries or construction or infrastructure that's taking a hit. It's service industries. So whether it's hospitality or restaurants, childcare or different kind of services, those are often where women make up the majority of the workforce. And so that one-on-one individual contact that a lot of women are providing, in whether it's service or care or hospitality, those industries have taken the biggest hit.
This report also shows that among parents, women see less employment increase than men and are more likely to lose hours. The reason? Well, Gould says part of this is because women essentially have remained primary caregivers,
whether it's for children or for elderly parents. And so whether or not maybe they didn't necessarily lose their job, but they're unable to work because children have been out of school and children have been out of daycare. And so we've also seen in Canada more women both contract and unfortunately pass away as a result of COVID than we're seeing in other countries. And so there really is a gender dimension to this crisis.
Okay, so what can be done about this? Well, Gould says the government has done their best to make sure women aren't left behind.
First of all, when we created the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, we clearly indicated that if you were unable to work because of childcare responsibilities, you would be eligible for the CERB. And that's really important because we've never really had that in any of our, income support programs before. And so that was really important to make sure that women could continue to have an income, albeit perhaps more modest than they were used to, while they were unable to work to take on those additional responsibilities or those existing responsibilities.
It's Thursday, and that means it's time once again for the Thursday tradition of Pet O' the Week. And this very hot Thursday, we feature a dog that is adorable and is rather cool. Today, we look at a husky named Mia.
This week, we would like to feature another husky that we have here at the Humane Society. So this is Mia. She's around 8 years old and desperately looking for a very air-conditioned forever home.
Tell us about Mia's history that you know.
So she came in as a surrender from her owner, so just a lot of animals and they couldn't care for them. So she's been very friendly, very social and energetic since she's been with us. She's a little bit older. We've got her an estimate of 8 years old. So definitely sort of set in her ways, but very friendly and eager to meet new people.
And for Huskies, Northern Ontario is a good climate for them typically, aside from the several weeks of hot weather that we have right now.
For sure. So the hot weather is a little bit of a burden for them. We've got some pools set up in the backyard. Very mindful about walking throughout the day. So temperatures right now, I mean, we're noon hour. It's pretty warm for her. So she goes out, stretches her legs a little bit, and then right back into where it's cool. So a lot of walking first thing in the morning and then later in the evening when the temperatures get a little bit cooler for them so that they don't suffer.
Now, a Husky is not a couch potato.
Definitely not. So these guys are very, very active, energetic, and eager to be out and about. So looking for homes and lifestyles that are pretty well go, go, go all the time.
It seems that there's an influx of Huskies right now at the shelter. Is that typical?
It's not really. So we sort of live on a day-to-day basis at the North Bay Humane Society. So right now we're working with a number of members in the community that have dog sledding places that are either retiring or closing down. So the North Bay Humane Society is trickling them in. We don't want to overload the population and say, here's, 20 Huskies that are available for adoption. So really trying to showcase each individual temperament, behavior, age, and description. The benefit to Mia here is she is very petite. So she's not a really big dog. She's not overpowering. She's not dragging me across the lawn, that sort of thing. So really important to find her appropriate home, but she is a really amazing temperament for sure.
If anybody's interested in Mia, what should they do, keeping in mind that COVID rules and restrictions are in place here at the shelter?
Sure. So the North Bay Humane Society, again, our adoptions are up and running. Keep an eye on the website. If somebody's interested, fill out the application and we'll call to book the appointment. If they have any questions or concerns, they can definitely give us a call or send us an email.
All right, we are going to go to a break. When we come back, yours truly has the weather forecast. Is there any relief on the way from the heat? Come back in about 90 seconds.
Weather is brought to you by Canadore College. Great things happen here.
Welcome back, everybody. It is steaming hot on this day. Check the phone before I went on the air at 5. It was still 32 degrees. On the old scale, cold. On this scale, not cold. Overnight tonight, it's going to be a little bit of cloud, a little bit of moon, and a low of 20. Friday, expecting some stormy weather, although there is the big drive-in show. Mother Nature may have to put a little bit of a, wait for it, damper on that. Overnight low on Friday, 21. Saturday, chance of rain, pretty good. Cooling all the way down to 29. Overnight low on Saturday of 16 degrees. Sunday, hey, look, 23 is the high with clouds and a chance of more rain. 17 overnight Sunday. And on Monday, there's a chance of more rain again. Lots of clouds in the forecast. Not a speck of sun. The high on Wednesday was 30. The low was 17. Normals for this time of the year, 25 and 13. Looks like the battalion got a good one in Matvey Gruskov. We'll talk about his latest news development after this.
Sports is brought to you by Tag Construction for all your construction needs.
Welcome back, everybody. Apparently, the North Bay Battalion picked up a really good player from the London Knights, and kind of shows you how deep the London Knights roster is. Matvey Guskov named to the Russian World Junior Team Tryout Camp roster, one of 3 OHL players who did get that kind of nod. The rap on him, and there's really no rap beyond the fact he didn't get a lot of ice time in London, believe it or not. He had 2 30-point seasons with the Knights with maybe not gigantic minutes. That should change this fall whenever they start playing again. The 19-year-old forward was a draft pick of the Minnesota Wild in 2019, the NHL draft, traded to the battalion last month, and good on him and good on North Bay. And I hope they start playing hockey on time, because it'd be nice to see the battalion with some real talented players out there, and this kid looks like he is one of them. Look at him wheel. All right, we're out of time. That's it for news, weather, and sports for this Thursday. I'll be back with more Cogeco News live Friday at 5. See you then.